Sound check. Check one, check two.
Hello, Lori.
Hi, Dan.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Of course, of course. Thank you for having me.
I was, as I was just saying in the intro, and as we were talking about, I do kind of feel like we've kind of known of each other for a little while in an odd kind of way.
Yep.
And so I was thrilled to be able to meet you in person uh, when we saw each other in Canada, and I think I even asked you at the time. I said, "Hey, would you come on the show?" And you were kind enough to say yes. So thank you for that. I wonder whether you might take a moment to tell us a bit about you and who you are and what you do, and then we'll turn our attention to the topic of the day.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So currently I am a what's called a singing voice rehabilitation specialist in the United States. I'm based in the Chicagoland area and the suburbs, and I'm also a speech language pathologist. So I sort of do a blended type of work where I'm doing clinical work and voice therapy, but I'm also specializing in helping singers and vocalists recover from vocal fold injury and all kinds of interesting like technical issues. So I sort of subspecialize in muscle tension dysphonia type issues, and I've been here my whole career. I have a private practice called Sonnenberg Voice, and that's been wonderful. I'm going into my ninth year of running the practice, and even have a team now. So it's just been a great experience, and I really love my work.
You have been running your business for as long as we've been running the live show. So there you go. And
Well, my career goes back. I'm. It's a little scary to think of how long I've been doing this in totality. So
we
21 years going
oh,
on.
okay, you're going to volunteer that. I wasn't going to put you on the spot. Um, so of course you come to us with a lot of experience, and certainly in the circles that I exist within online, and albeit often from a distance looking in, you have garnered a great deal of respect from the wider singing community, and so I feel really privileged to have you on the show today.
Oh, well, thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. I am the topic that we're going to kind of deep dive into is the topic, as I said, that you spoke to at ICVT, and is Creaky Voice Therapy, and
Yep.
this is something I've been aware of for a little while, but not had the opportunity to hear someone like yourself who is, working with it in a clinical setting, talk to it. And I found your presentation so insightful. I wonder whether you can just kick off by telling us what is Creaky Voice Therapy.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's important at first to just make a little to help our audience better understand what we mean by creaky voice, because I've learned as I've done research on this topic and started having more conversations with people about it, that there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about what the term creaky actually refers to. Uh, and so I want to start out by making that little relationship and association between creaky voice and vocal fry. I think the sounds that people are most familiar with are what we refer to as vocal fry. Creaky voice is different from vocal fry. It's produced at higher frequencies. So essentially, we're creating higher frequencies where there's a little overlay of vocal fry, with which is the lower pitch modulating the higher pitch. And so it's a fun word that I use to describe creaky techniques is that it's a stingy air concept. So it's a way for us to significantly reduce airflow in sound making, and that sort of sucks the vocal folds a little closer together, creating better like adduction. And adduction is the word that refers to bringing the vocal folds together. And so it improves adduction by minimizing airflow and sort of a special gear setting, getting those vocal folds touching better from front to back. And so I think that's the best way to introduce it.
Yeah. It I think it is important to differentiate, creaky voice from vocal fry, because certainly when I was doing my education within vocal pedagogy, we were, vocal fry was very much set up as a naughty, and
Yes, a
and
naughty thing.
and it very much was, my 13 best girlfriends kind of, that sort of
Yeah, yeah.
deteriorated vocal sound. Um, I wonder whether you might be able to give us an example of both, so people can hear and really make that clear distinction between the two.
Absolutely. So vocal fry is like kind of what you were obviously just doing. Vocal fry is an official register of the voice. It's the lowest, thought to be the lowest register of the voice. And so I'm going to glide down with my in my range, and I'm just going to land and clunk into vocal fry so you can hear those lowest frequencies. So ah. So that really like poppy kind of crackling sound. So I've heard people talk about like bacon frying in the pan, like
Yeah.
the sizzling of the bacon frying in the pan. That's that really really low frequency. It's generally like 70 hertz or lower.
Yeah.
Creaky voice is where we're going to go up. So I'm going to do a normal glide. Now I'm going to modulate that with the low frequency, creating creak. And there you go.
Can you talk me through doing that? I'd
I
like to give it I'd like
absolutely
to give it a
can.
go.
Do you want me to teach you how to do it,
Yeah.
Dan? Yes. Okay. So I want you to think of. Do you have children?
Yes, I do. They're all older, but yes.
Okay, but let's think about when they were really young
Okay.
and they're really tired and they're very whiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. They
Yeah.
really want you to buy them the candy bar at the checkout stand,
Which they
at
never
the
got,
grocery store.
incidentally. Which they never
And
got.
they're like, yeah, they're like, "Oh, Dad. Oh, come on,
Ah,
Dad. Can you talk
ah,
like that for me?"
Dad. Ah. Is that where it
Yeah.
needs
Let's
to
bring it down
be?
like a little bit lower. Oh, Dad.
Dad.
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so after you kind of get the feeling, it's better, I think, to when you first attempt to learn how to make creaky sounds, I like to use speech like that, like whiny speech as a doorway in, because it tends to relax and release things in the throat a little bit better. So that's what we go with the speech approach. So, oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, can you go up higher now? Oh
Oh
no.
no.
Yeah, and so once you kind of can you feel that you've got
Yeah.
the higher pitch?
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I like to do it on round vowels like that, but you could try it on anything you want to.
Uh-huh.
A favorite noise is you want to start kind of gliding with it. And so if you imagine like a creaky door in a haunted house or something like,
It's hard to maintain that the higher you go, isn't it? Yeah, it's hard to hold on to that
Yes.
creakiness. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you bring it down and really try to maintain creak until you officially get to fry?
There's my fry
There you
there.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
Now, uh, yeah, so that is a really nice like introduction just to start playing around with the noises.
Yes. Yeah. What what are I mean it's a fun exercise to do. What are the clinical settings that require you to implement that with a client?
Absolutely. So I would say that I mean there are a lot of different uh, clinical findings that might warrant the need
Mm.
for adduction. So I want to just point out creaky voice is used primarily to improve adduction in voice production. And so that can be for speech or singing. But we're talking about singing voice here today. So let's think about uh, glottal insufficiency. So in the clinical world, that refers to if my hands are representing the vocal folds, uh, difficulty bringing those vocal folds all the way together at midline when we're singing,
Yeah.
whether we're singing low, middle, high. And so a lot of singers, uh, even without vocal injury or pathology of any kind, uh, so think muscle tension disorders or muscle tension related things, they're going to present uh, a lot of times with vocal folds that don't come all the way together. So we refer to it as a gap
Yeah.
between the vocal
Yeah.
folds. Are you familiar with a glottal gap? I'm sure you are.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Something that we would it's not uncommon to as a group to see it in the emergent adult female voice as coming through that sort of pubescent
Yes,
change.
yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I'm kind of in the camp that this is a controversial thing probably, but I'm kind of in the camp. Yes, uh, I I'm not in support of us being okay with gap. You know, like I'm in my world. You know, by the time people make it to me with those issues, uh, it's moderate to severe
Yeah.
usually, and and even in those mild cases, though, even with adolescent, young women. I'm not a fan of just letting it go and being okay with it. So I think it's appropriate for us to bring targeted adduction in gently,
Yeah.
carefully,
Yeah.
so that we can start to train those muscles to improve medial compression as soon as possible.
Yeah. I guess because I would sit in the same camp as you. I'm a big advocate for habitual clean tone. I guess the the to black hat it would be the opposite view. I guess would be to not counter cultural norms. Is where my older daughters, one of them's married and doesn't live at home, and my youngest is university age. But when they were a bit younger, I would often target myself and my 13 best friends sort of talk, and of course their response to their dad was, well, I'll leave it to your imagination. Uh, but of course, the challenge, as you're pointing out, is, culturally normative or not, these do expose the voice to significant
Okay,
challenges.
so could I come in here and just give you a little like you've just made me kind of imagine a little like cyclical thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna start like by picking up like you're hearing young women or young girls like kind of talk in this sort
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
and they're doing this sort of this cultural kind of thing. So here's the irony of that. When and this is what's harmful about vocal fry, in my opinion. If we speak at those lowest frequencies habitually, the vocal folds are in this really lax, loose position for long periods of time because we vibrate, millions of times a day. So as those vocal folds are vibrating in this really lax position, then the thyroarytenoid muscle, which is the bulk of the vocal fold, is going to start to get kind of lazy
yeah,
and not as bulky. And so then that ends up being a segue to the vocal folds not being able to tense properly and
yes,
stretch properly for higher range singing, which then leads to a bigger gap in the singing voice in higher range.
yeah.
Does that, I mean, it's like this perfect little pathway
It,
to disaster.
yeah. And the disruption of the oscillation of the vocal folds can also lead down the track of formation of pathologies such as nodules and those sorts of issues.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
you never know, you hardly ever know what came first. And that's why efficiency
yeah,
is so important because if we're efficient, we're kind of working all sides of it.
yeah.
We're minimizing tension, we're catching those things quicker,
Yeah,
and then the vocal folds aren't working as hard.
100%, 100%. Which is why, certainly here at Voice Essentials, I'm sure people get sick and tired of me talking about: is it efficient? Is it sustainable? Is it healthy?
Right.
They're the questions that we continue to ask. When we how do you dovetail the application of Creaky Voice Therapy into more of a habilitative activity?
That's a great question. I really like. I don't always bring it into therapy early on, unless someone is really struggling to create clear tone of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I like to kind of start just sprinkling it in very slowly. So I'll teach someone how to do it in therapy. Uh, and the beautiful thing about creaky voice work is that it's so versatile. It can be applied in so many different ways, but it also provides almost immediate benefit and change to the voice that's in front of you. And so you can learn in the moment, is this clinically appropriate?
Mm.
Uh, and so then if you can determine like, oh, we hear, I mean, people will say immediately like this changes everything. And you can hear it happening. And so then you kind of learn how their voice is responding. And then I just have a lot of fun with people in the moment, always just kind of saying, okay, well, what kind of creaky would work for you in this scenario? Say they're working on a particular vocalizing exercise, or there's a particular song that they're singing and they're really frustrated with a passage in it, that where the voice is getting really tight or breathy, or they're struggling and it's cracking.
Mm.
And we can just kind of stop in the moment and sprinkle some creaky work into that song work, and sometimes it's magical enough to just right the ship right there.
You started today talking about the application of Creaky Voice Therapy around building a more balanced adduction.
Yes.
And I'm also, as I was doing it and you were talking me through it, I was always also aware of subglottal air pressure and being mindful of airflow. Firstly, I'd love to hear you talk about how you relate breath management into what you're doing with it. But then my brain also went to the idea of, well, I wonder whether we can come at it from the other direction where we've got too stronger adduction. Let's say a person's learning to belt and their subglottal pressure is too high. Can we come at it from the other direction? Two things.
You absolutely can. You absolutely can. And that makes me think of semi-occlusion work because, you've probably heard me say this. A lot of people have heard me say this, that, I like to be the instigator in the back, raising my hand during the straw phonation lectures and the, all the SOVT talk, is that, well, what do we do when it doesn't work? What do we do when those SOVTs don't do the magical thing that we depend on them to do for us from a balance standpoint? And so I think that creaky noises are a really nice interplay sometimes with semi-occlusion work. And so say you've got but even if you have someone who's working on belting and they're pressing, because when you talk about pressing in that situation, I'm thinking, breathy pressed almost. We've probably got some air escape coming through that we need to kind of clean up in a different way, right? Because it's all about that balance. And creaky voice isn't just about helping people like thicken things at the vocal fold level. It can actually really help thin things out as well. It's so versatile.
Well, I think I think just given the fact that you took it higher, the vocal folds are going to have to elongate and thin out while you maintain the creaky. So you are removing the mass. Yeah,
exactly. And you can play with it. It can be thicker and grittier, and then you can unload it a little bit, and it can be a little finer touch. I love mixing SOVTs and creak work together.
Yeah.
That I'm doing that on the regular with people. So we'll take, straw phonation or a real common exercise in voice therapy, around the world is flow work.
Yep.
Like flowing and increasing, and people are just blowing all this air through the sound, and I'm like, well, sometimes that helps, but you can actually do your flow work. So I want you to try like blowing. So you're going to take your breath and you're just going to blow first. And I want you to feel the air on your hand like you're blowing out a candle. Okay. Now I want you to add like voice to it and think of like a 50-50 ratio. So 50% phonation, 50% airflow, which is very abstract and doesn't make sense, but that's going to be kind of my breathy. Yep. Now I'm going to bring some creak into that at the same time. So
well, I find that more challenging to do.
Try it again.
Mine's almost going to more of what I would describe as a pulse than a creak.
Right. So you have to kind of like that. That's just one example.
Yeah. I would definitely have to practice that and play with it to find the right.
And you
setting.
know what? An easier option, and I think our audience would like these options. They're going to be much easier to like tap into.
Yeah.
Humming on nasal consonants, so M, N, N, G.
Mm-hmm.
Those are very popular vocalizing sounds. So,
yeah, that's
so easy.
That's easy. Yeah.
Certainly. Then you're getting your back pressure.
Yes, the semi-occlusion. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You mentioned before that you're often the person up the back of the room saying, yeah, but what if it actually at ICVT you actually said that, but during your own presentation, and I remember that, and I thought, thank you, Lori. I mean, I didn't put my hand up and say thank you, but at the time, because don't we fall into the trap? And you and I have been around the traps for a little while. Of we do want to tar everything with the same brush, and we want to apply the same silver bullet to every, you know, of recent years. SOVTs has been the thing. I've got XYZ problem. No problem. We'll just use a straw phonation to fix that.
No,
And
I
of
mean, people
course,
come to me. Yes, yes, people come to me all the time,
yeah,
and they can't adduct their vocal folds to save their lives, and I'm like, well, what have you been working on with your other, when with your things, and it's just it's really surprising sometimes how
yeah,
much we lean on all of those unloading tasks,
yes,
and we need them, but we have to work. Every single person has to figure out, like, how do they work together. We were talking about that moment at ICVT in my lecture, and I remember this collective sigh of like like when I said, well, SOVTs don't always fix it, and everyone has kind of a fun little reaction to that, but they don't. And we do people a disservice when we don't, explore adduction. There's nothing wrong in just experimenting with it.
yeah, 100%. And I can tell you, the sigh wasn't from me. I was inside going, yes, 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 yes. because we do, as a teaching fraternity worldwide, fall into these trends. And
We do.
and and I think the longer you spend in this space, you recognize, you know the ones that have gone before us that were doing very effective things with the tools that they had, that's not all suddenly null and void just because we've got a new exciting, science evidence-based activity. um, uh, it may well be that you and I are on a similar ticket there. What?
Well, now, if I could also say, uh, and I think this is important to note for the audience too, is that all of that unloading, which is sometimes needed. There's always some component of unloading when you're rehabilitating a voice, or even just training a voice. We're often needing to unload, but all of that unloading ends up sometimes, and it creates fear and uncertainty and tentativeness around engaging the voice fully, and then that leads to people really underdoing things and doing less and less and less because they're so scared to engage the voice. And then that's a whole other room of muscle tension
Yeah.
that you end up with, and then that's really difficult to undo. And so that's why it's important, I think, to have lots of little ingredients in the recipe.
We mentioned earlier the idea of the younger voice, and we're applying it to the younger voice. We've had a question come in here from Patricia, who is one of our members here at the channel. And thanks, Patricia, for your question. She's asked, is this similar to older voices going croaky? And if so, how to avoid that happening as we get older?
Yeah, I actually, if I, Patricia, if I know, I think I know what you're referring to. And as voices age, as we age and our voices, vocal fold tissues age, they do often sometimes get a little lax. And so then
A condition
they're not
known as
adducting.
sarcopenia. Is that the right use of the term? Sarcopenia?
Uh, I'm not
Am I saying that
sure.
incorrectly? I might be. Sorry, I'm confusing the issue. You please continue.
I'm thinking of like presbylarynx.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It is kind of what I'm thinking about. So if you've got these floppy vocal folds, then they're not adducting, and
yeah.
things aren't efficient, and they're not the vocal folds aren't like stepping up to the task, And so adduction work, including creaky noises, can help those vocal folds find their way closer to each other, and then you can engage the voice a little bit more and project and really dig into it. And that helps in those situations, Patricia.
Linda has been very kind. Linda's our moderator in the live chat, and she's been very kind. I did say it just slightly incorrectly. It's sarcopenia. It is sarcopenia. It's the atrophy of muscles as we age. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
A loss of strength actually is what Linda is saying. Linda keeps me honest. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, it is. We apply it at different ages for different reasons, and again, it comes back to this idea of when to use a tool in the most appropriate way for the right reasons for the right client.
I think another scenario that singers and voice teachers and clinical folks would want to know about is that it can be a brilliant tool for unloading muscle tension.
Yeah.
Just plain old, I'm working harder
MTD,
with the extrinsic musculature than I want to. I'm having difficulty reaching that high note. I get feedback all the time from people that once they've really played around with creaky, even if you're not all that great at it, it just brings enough chaos into the system to sort of unlock it. Because if you can't produce the sound, you're tense.
Yeah. I've got a couple of sort of what I titled nuanced questions that I've written down here.
Sure.
That I thought would be cool to explore. The first of which that I want to ask, and I'll read it because I've got a thing here.
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready? This is
ready.
This is very highbrow interview skill. Do you see Creaky Voice Therapy as a temporary bridge toward balanced phonation, or can it become an integrated long-term component of a healthy vocal system?
Oh, what a lovely question. I see it as a temporary tool when it's being introduced. It's exploratory. You're learning. Does this help this voice? Does this help this person? What benefits do they get from it? They go out into the real world and they try it. They start, and I say, let's start sprinkling this into your regular practice. And yes, it absolutely needs to become a long-term ingredient in the protocols for forever. I mean, it can be useful forever.
And I guess it's a tool that the user can call upon at times that have been nominated with you in the learning process, right?
That's right. We work together to optimize it for each person.
Gotcha.
Because and I know you probably feel this way too. Like, I really believe in the value of that individualized creation of what works best for each person. I'm not a one-stop, a one trick for everybody.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that that's one of the things I enjoy most about the work that I do, is getting to be super fun and creative with that in every hour that I'm with someone.
Yeah.
And then they've got their little package, they've got their little way of doing it, and then they can go play and discover their own new ways to do it.
And again, isn't it the self-exploration of play that's so important? We've had Heidi Moss Erickson on the show a number of times, and we've talked a lot about play and the importance of that free discovery and application. Let me throw you my second nuanced question. In cases of glottal insufficiency, we might have even answered this. In cases of glottal insufficiency, is Creaky Voice primarily a sensory motor recalibration tool, a strengthening strategy, or something else entirely?
I think it's the first and the last.
A bit from column A, a bit from column B, right?
Yeah, because I don't necessarily think of it as a strengthening task. Although once you get the coordination in
Yes.
place, then you're able to engage a little bit more. But definitely sensory, motor, like all of that, because it has to be repeated so much
Yes.
until, because the 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 body, the brain, the voice, they need time to adapt to it. Uh, but we can get quick shifts in the moment. I mean, that's the way that the motor stuff works, right? Like we can get really quick results with it, but it fades, and so we have to do it a lot. And then I also think that it truly is a targeted muscular activity.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's retraining muscular behavior.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
we're maximizing the muscles responsible for
Yeah.
adduction and minimizing the engagement of the surrounding musculature.
We believe it or not, I don't know if you've been keeping a track on time, but we are fast approaching the end of our conversation. and can I be bold enough, and I hope you don't take offense to this, I would love to get you back on the show to talk about MTD a bit more. That would be
Oh,
super
yeah, I would love that.
super
I would
super fun.
absolutely love that. Yeah.
But to finish off, as you can see on screen right now, we always do a fun poll as a part of the show that everyone in the live chat can participate in. And we've had 17 votes in today's poll. And the question that I asked was, what's your first reaction to vocal fry? Now, of course, we didn't, I did say vocal fry, not creaky or whatever.
Mhm.
So we've got four answers. We've got useful vocal therapy tool, just annoying vocal fry, helpful when used carefully, or wait, fry can be healthy. So we've got now normally, oh yes, I've just looked to see that Rebecca has given us the drum roll, because she's a regular on the show and in the chat, and she gives us a drum roll immediately before we're going to go to revealing the poll results. Let's have a look at the poll results, and I'll get your response to them. Here they come. They're coming. Ta-da! So what have we got? We've got 41% said useful vocal therapy tool, helpful when used carefully, 35%, just annoying, and for 12%, and wait, fry can be healthy. What are your thoughts around today's poll?
Well, I'm actually encouraged that that the higher percentages are those first two answers, because it means that people are exploring it. I think a lot of people are exploring it and not necessarily knowing what it is that they're doing. So I'm happy to hear that.
That's a win, right? That's good.
It is a win.
It's a
Yeah.
win. It's a win. I wonder if you might leave us with any parting words of wisdom that we haven't been able to cover off on today around the subject
Yeah,
of creaky.
I would just say that I think that what I would ask and encourage people to do uh, is to look for education on Creaky Voice, uh, and learn about it, ask teachers about it, look for training on it, so that you can get some exposure to in learning, understanding what it is, how to produce it, and then even going further and playing around with it in your own vocal work and figuring out how to play around with application. You just have to start somewhere and find your way through it, and then you'll discover what is useful.
And of course, people can there's in the description section of today's video, people can contact you through your website and your team, and if
Yes,
they want to
please. We
explore
we
that
talk
further.
about this topic a lot on our socials and
Yeah,
offer workshops and so forth.
that's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled that we finally had the opportunity to have you come on the show, and I'm
Oh, me too, Dan.
secretly excited that we perhaps could have you again in the future. Muscle tension dysphonia is for those who don't know what MTD is, it's a very umbrella term, isn't it? Really, that covers a lot of things. But it will be great to have you on and talk about that subject again sometime in the future. And yeah, thanks again. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you, Dan, so much, and everyone for tuning in.
Don't have to say anything more than that, do we? I mean, Laurie presents with such a generous heart, and when I listen to her, sometimes what you have in your mind's eye about someone doesn't quite match what you then see publicly. That was not the case with Laurie. I've known of Laurie and interacted a couple of times online, via Facebook and stuff like that. And I just had built this sort of, persona, avatar of this person. And then I got to hear Laurie speak at ICVT, and like hand in glove, just the what I expected of the highest class is exactly what we got. And so I was thrilled when she said she'd love to come on the show, and the proof is in the pudding. That was a great show, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something about Creaky Voice, and I encourage you, if you do, Laurie teaches online, so you can certainly reach out to her if you think this is an area that you would like to, work more in. You can reach out to her via the all of the stuff in the description section below, and make contact with her personally. Of course, our live shows are going to keep going. Next week we are going to do another Q&A. I did get contacted. I'll let you all know very quickly. I did get contacted by someone offering some recordings for a live reaction video. We've been wanting to do those. That is I'm still waiting for a reply to my reply, so I'll let you know what's going to happen there. But next week we're going to do a Q&A. And then the week after that, I think we've got Jeremy. Oh, what is Jeremy's last name? I can't remember. We're talking tensegrity. We're going to be talking about tensegrity, and so that'll happen in 2 weeks. I hope you all have a wonderful week. I hope you're not as wet as it is here in Brisbane. I hope you've got better weather. I very much look forward to seeing you next week for the Q&A. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.